Welcome, Precalculus Unit Circle Review. A couple things you'll have to touch up on as we get ready for our quiz. First of all, SOHCAHTOA, sine of theta equals opposite leg over hypotenuse over h. Again, here's our theta. This is in any right triangle. The opposite leg is the side opposite the angle. The adjacent leg is the leg next to the acute angle, and the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. And the hypotenuse is always the longest side. And just in case we don't remember, in any right triangle, we know, so we have by the triangle, excuse me, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are the legs, c is the hypotenuse. Sorry about that. Okay, so sine is opposite of hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is, finish this, adjacent is, let's try that again, sine's opposite over hypotenuse, cosine's adjacent over hypotenuse, and as we can see down here, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we need to know those. What does that mean? Well, there's 6 trig functions because all their reciprocals. So sine, again, is opposite over hypotenuse, but within a unit circle, we want to look at the fact that this triangle has an x component, a y component, and a radius. So we can start looking from the angle's perspective. Let me change my pen here. Maybe. From the angle's perspective, right here, the opposite leg happens to always be the y, and it doesn't matter which quadrant we're in. If I have a triangle here, here's theta, the opposite leg, hey, that's the y component, and obviously in quadrant 3, the y is always going to be negative. X is the adjacent leg, again, doesn't matter what quadrant, and the radius is always opposite the right angle. So what we said is, first of all, there's a relationship just like the Pythagorean theorem, x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Take the square root of both sides, r equals square root of x squared plus y squared. And now as we look at all 6 trig functions, sine ratio is y over r, opposite of hypotenuse. The reciprocal of that is the cosecant, it's r over y. Cosine of theta equals x over r. Reciprocal of that is secant, r over x. Tangent equals y over x. Cotangent is the reciprocal of that, x over y. Okay, so we're getting there in terms of review. What else do we need to know? I feel this page is probably the most important because you're going to have to generate this by yourself. You have to know that all 30, 60, 90 triangles are in a relationship of 1 to 2 to square root of 3, with the 2 being the hypotenuse, square root of 3 being opposite to 60, and the 1 being opposite to 30. And the same is true. There's a relationship between all 45, 90 triangles. These are special right triangles, 1 to 1 to square root of 2. What does this box down here stand for? This just tells us, based on the values of the x, the y, and the fact that the radius is always positive, since x and y are both positive in the first quadrant, all trig functions are going to be positive in the first quadrant. Since x is negative and y is positive, only the sine and its reciprocal cosecant are going to be positive in the second quadrant. Since both x and y are negative in the third quadrant, tangent and cotangent, its reciprocal are going to be positive in the third quadrant. And since x is positive and y is negative in the fourth quadrant, then cosine and its reciprocal secant are going to be positive in the fourth quadrant. How do you remember this? All students take calculus, and we just know sine, tangent, cosine, and then the reciprocals. And a little conversion chart as we go from degrees to radians. We know 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians. So therefore 180 degrees equals pi radians. And when I need to convert, if I need to change it to radians, I would put the degrees in the denominator so they cancel out, radians up top. If I need to change it to degrees, put the degree in top, the radians will cancel out. So this is very important. I think this page you need to memorize, write it on your test, and then you can generate every angle after that. Okay, so what do we look at? We have families. Notice in the 30-degree family, these are all angles that are 30 degrees away from the x-axis. So 30 above 0 is 30, 30 above 180 is 150, 30 below 180 is 210, 30 below 360 is 330. So those angles will all have the same trig ratios. Their signs may be different, but that family will all be the same. And I'm going to do that for an example in a second. 60-degree family, 60 above 0 is 60, 60 above 180 is 120, 60 below, and again, these angles, same thing, back to the x-axis, 60 below 180 is 240, 60 below 360, 300. They all have the same trig ratios because they're all 60-degree acute angle from the x-axis. So the reference triangles are the same. What do we mean by a reference triangle? This triangle right there. Okay, and then our 45-degree family, 45 degrees above x-axis is 45, 45 above 180 is 135, 45 below 180 is 225, 45 below 360 is 315. And now our quadrantal angles, which are the angles on the x and y axis. We have an x-axis family where y equals 0. And again, go back. Sine is y over r. Well, hey, if y is 0, then all these are going to have a sine of 0. Tangent is y over x. Then we're going to have 0 over a number, and therefore tangent's going to be 0. Okay? And if we have the number over y, those are going to be undefined. So if it's over 0. Same thing, the y-axis. Hey, tangent is y over x. If x is 0, then the tangent of 90 is something divided by 0, which is undefined. So we know how to do that now. Okay. So let's go to our last one. What's our chart going to look like? And how does this help me? First of all, I know I have to divide all these by 180. 0 divided by 180 is 0. 30 divided by 180 is 1/6. So this is pi over 6 radians. I skipped some. I'm just doing part of them. 90 is 180 divided by 2. I'm sorry, 90 divided by 180 is 1/2. So there's pi over 2. Now, 30 is pi over 6. 150. Hey, that's 5 of those. So that's 5 times this. That's going to give me 5 pi over 6. 120. That's 7 30s. So that's going to be 7 pi over 6. 330 is 11 of those. So that's going to be 11 pi over 6. So again, once you figure out the 30, 45, and 60, you can generate all of the radian values from all the angles 0 to 360. And 360 is either 12 of these, 12 pi over 6, hey, that's going to be 2 pi, or 4 90s, same thing, 4 pi over 2, which in both cases will be 2 pi. Okay, how do we figure these? Let's do a 30-degree angle first. So, and I think that's what the family I have here is. So I come over here, there's my 30-degree angle, right here. So I'm going to be 1 to 2 to square root of 3. So my sine is going to be opposite of our hypotenuse, which is 1/2. And I can quickly go, the reciprocal is going to be 2 over 1. Oh, and I put it in the wrong spot. Let's try that again. Sorry about that. Okay, so back to my pen. All right, so we'll do it. So 30 is 1/2, and its reciprocal 2 over 1. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, that's square root of 3 over 2. We like that. And now the reciprocal is 2 over square root of 3. Wait a second, I got to multiply both the top and bottom by square root of 3. So I'm going to get 2 square roots of 3 all over 3. Okay, remember, we cannot leave a radical in the denominator. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, so that's 1 over square root of 3. Which again, I cannot leave a radical in the denominator, so multiply both the top and bottom by square root of 3. So I'm going to get square root of 3 over 3. And the reciprocal I could just do from the tangent, which is square root of 3 over 1. Now, the beauty is, this reference triangle, so that was 30. This is going to be 150. They're all the exact same thing. So I just copy it down. 1/2 square root of 3 over 2, square root of 3 over 3, square root of 3 over 1, 2 square root of 3 over 3, and 2 over 1. And the only difference is now in the second quadrant only sine is positive, which means my sine and cosecant are going to be positive. Everything else is negative. Okay, let me just delete this. Oh, I just deleted all those other signs too. Come back and do that. So we said sine and cosecant is positive, everything else is negative. So let's keep going. In the third quadrant, this is 210. It's part of the 30-degree family. So we know everything's the same as the 30, square root of 3 over 2, square root of 3 over 3, square root of 3 over 1, 2 square root of 3 over 3, and 2 over 1, which is just 2. Now let's come put the signs in. In the third quadrant, all students take, that's tangent, so tangent and its reciprocal, cotangent are positive, everything else is negative. And lastly, 330, it's in the fourth quadrant over here. It's going to be exactly the same. Square root of 3 over 2, square root of 3 over 3, square root of 3 over 1, just right, square root of 3, 2 square root of 3 over 3, and 2 over 1. We said in the fourth quadrant, the cosine is positive, so we're going to write positive, and its reciprocal secant is positive. Everything else is negative. So if I know it's positive, then obviously the opposite's going to be negative, and that's how we fill out the whole chart. You have to do the 30-degree family, 60-degree family, 45-degree family, x-axis family, and the y-axis family. So let's see what I get for 0 degrees. 0, we knew x was equal to r. So when sine is y over r, y is 0. So I know my sine is 0, which the reciprocal of that is going to be undefined. And that would be the same for 360 and 180. And you'd have to, there's no negative 0 and there's no negative infinity, so it's just undefined. Cosine is x over r. They're equal. So hey, that's going to be 1. And it's going to be exactly the same for 90. Tangent is y over x. So we have as 0. Oh, and hold on, I got to do secant. So reciprocal. I know everything's positive in the first quadrant. So tangent is 0, so cotangent is going to be undefined because you're going to be dividing by 0. So we get the same there. And now if I had to do 90 degrees, I am going to have y equal to r. So sine is y over r. So hey, the sine of 90 is going to be 1, which the reciprocal of that's going to be 1. Cosine is x over r. I know x is 0 when I'm on the y-axis. So that's going to be 0. Hey, the reciprocal of that's going to be... And think about this for a second. Cosine, we knew cosine's positive in the first quadrant, negative in the second quadrant. As I go from positive to negative, I have to cross through 0. And tangent's going to be y over x. Ooh, we said x is 0, so divided by 0 is going to be undefined. And reciprocal is going to be x over y, which is going to be 0 over number, which is 0. This is part of the chart. That's what I'm testing you on. It's going to take some time, but if you can understand these topics, you will be able to generate the whole chart. Good luck and happy studying. And if I can pause this, this would be great.